20,000 subscribers is a milestone that I didn't even remotely consider hitting when I first started this channel. Whether it be during the early days of this channel when I was getting like 50 views a video, or after 2022 when I've really considered quitting. Even after having passed it, it still feels like a completely unbelievable milestone and I couldn't be any more thankful for it. So I thought to celebrate, much like with 10,000 subscribers, we'll finally get around to doing another one of these long overdue Q&A videos. I do want to try and make more of these videos. I know I'm pretty sure I said that on the last video and then never did, but it is something I want to do. So if you do have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. So without further ado, let's get into the 20,000 subscriber questions. Our first question comes in from Avery Productions, who asks, what is the best part about Ninjago in your opinion? And personally for me, it's the fact that we're 13 years into this franchise and it still feels fresh. Ninjago's greatest strength to me is how it's not afraid to change things up when it needs to. Look at other long-running franchises like Star Wars and the MCU, and they've just kind of really become desperate. Just recycling the same things over and over again with little to no innovation. Oh look, we've got a story about a scrappy band of underdogs fighting stormtroopers for the 5 millionth time, whoop-de-doo. And then you look at Ninjago and 12 years in, after a whole generation of kids grew up with this franchise, they're still finding ways to further develop and innovate the franchise. Like literally just last year, the entire franchise's world building was completely flipped on its head with the merge. And then Dragon's Rising Season 2 has been taking the characters to genuinely new and really interesting places for Ninjago. It's just a franchise that I really feel isn't afraid to innovate, and I really like that about Ninjago. Our next question comes in from Tarayo Pin, who asks if I have any pets. And yeah, you could say I have one or two. This is Alfie, Stanley, Fifi, Badger, and Hilda. So yeah, you know, I guess you could say I have a couple of them. Our next question comes in from William Barner 8566, who asks, will you make a compilation video for every time you hate on Crystallized? And yeah, this is something I've wanted to make for a while, I won't lie. The main obstacle stopping me is I'm just not sure if I want to wrap in the actual Crystallized review into that video, because this is a video I've had a very rocky relationship with. It's one that overall I think communicates my points well and that I'm kind of proud of, but also its production was incredibly rushed. I feel like the editing could have been a lot better. I feel like the delivery of the commentary could have been a lot better, and generally it's kind of unpolished. I also feel like I could have went a lot more in depth with what I was saying of that video. The TLDR is it was my first long form Ninjago review video, so it suffers from first video syndrome in a lot of ways. And also was rushed out so it could be released during Crystallized Part 2's hype phase. So the main obstacle for a Crystallized video compilation is just, do I want to redo the Crystallized review before I make that video? Because I do want to redo the Crystallized review for the reasons I just stated, but on the other hand, do I still have the energy to make a long-form Crystallized review? Another long-form Crystallized review? I mean, I feel like this season has been talked about exhaustively to death at this point. And whilst there are specific aspects of Crystallized I'd still like to make in-depth videos talking about, Harumi and Nia in that season being some, a long-form Crystallized review is just something I'm not sure I have the energy for. And because of that, the idea of a Crystallized bashing compilation video is kind of in a weird stalemate position. Do I want to put in the old Crystallized review, or do I want to redo it before I do that? So yeah, it's an idea that for as basic as it is, I've weirdly had a very strong mental back and forth with. The idea is there, it's just in crusty purgatory at the minute, if you will. The next question we have here comes in from Nacho Bees, who asks, what is your favourite LEGO set? And for me, it's always going to be the Ninjago movie Destiny's Bounty. This thing is incredible value for money, has a ton of great minifigures, and an absolutely gorgeous build. This will always be my favourite LEGO set of all time. Our next question here is coming in from Anders10026, who asks, do you like Bionicle? And I don't really have an opinion on Bionicle. Bionicle is pretty old now and came out basically just before my time. I remember having Bionicles as a kid, I got one or two for a birthday one time. But I was just slightly too young to really catch this franchise at its peak. And from what I hear about it now, it's a pretty hard franchise to get into if you're a newcomer. Our next question comes in from Charlie Sal Britain 8954, who asks, why did you choose one of the skeletons as your icon? And I really wish I had a better explanation for this thing. I really wish I had some cool origin story for where I came up with this skeleton with a cowboy hat, but honestly, I was sitting around bored during the pandemic one day. I put a hat from the Gamers Market on a skeleton minifigure, and I thought, that's kind of funny. Fast forward and it's somehow become the face of my YouTube channel. The Krusty783 skeleton icon just kind of materialized into existence one day. Our next question comes in from Nitrin Bullets, I really hope I pronounced that name right, who asks, if you were to change any important elements of the Ninjago show, what would they be? Now, if you ask me this back during the 11-minute era, like 2022, 2020 kind of era, I would have a whole laundry list of things I want to see in Ninjago. But honestly, my answer to this now is nothing. I guess outside of the way Zane's dialogue being written is a bit too robotic for my liking, I really have no gripes with Ninjago at the minute, dude. Like, Dragon's Rising is giving me basically everything I would want out of modern Ninjago right now, so I am near completely content with the state of things. I know, oh, I changed nothing is not really the most compelling answer to a question like that, but it's genuinely how I feel. I am really happy with Ninjago's current state. Our next question comes in from High5423, who asks, do you think Geo will ever be a part of the main ninja team in Dragon's Rising? And I don't think he will, and I hope he doesn't become a full part of the team. And that's not because I have some kind of vendetta against Geo. I think he's a spectacular character, and a big dumb smile comes on my face whenever he shows up on screen. I love Geo, I think he's absolutely awesome. I just don't want the main team to become too crowded, dude. I mean, already we're juggling like, what, 9, 10 characters now? The original 6 plus Sora, Aaron, and Wildfire, and Ryu. And right now they're doing a good job balancing out all of the team members, sending some on different side quests to not have the team be so crowded. But as original Ninjago seasons like Crystallized and Hands of Time and whatnot showed, with a cast this big, it's very easy to run into the issue of some just kind of standing around and doing nothing. It's why I really like Dragon's Rising's idea to kind of trim down the cast in certain places, because it gives everyone on there a more meaningful role. So I kind of don't want them to follow that up by just throwing every single side character onto the main ninja team just for the sake of it. It's the same reason why I also wouldn't want a character like Euphrasia to join up with the central team. I just don't want that central group to get overcrowded. Characters like Euphrasia and Geo are absolutely awesome and I love them. I just don't want to run the risk of the cast being too bloated. Our next question today comes in from MTC Editing, who asks, do you have anyone helping you with editing or making thumbnails? Because your thumbnails especially are the best I've seen on YouTube. First of all, thank you so much, that is really kind. But to answer your question, I don't really have anyone helping me make these things. I have had some help here and there, gathering footage or just going over like bits of the script of videos. But beyond that, all of the editing and thumbnail making are on me. I have actually had offers for people to edit my videos in the past, but they've been offers that I've turned down. One, I'm just too cheap to pay people to edit. I'd honestly just rather do it all myself. But beyond that, my videos have a very specific process to being made to where I really don't think they would translate well to someone trying to edit them for me. The way I make these things is I rarely write scripts. The only video I think I've made that has ever been fully scripted has been my Crystallized review, and that is basically it. All of my other videos, you know, at most I've had like a notepad document up with some lines in there to help me get out what I'm trying to say. But generally speaking, how these videos are made is I turn on the microphone feature in Sony Vegas, I ramble until I stutter, I stop talking, and then I cut down what I have and edit footage over it. Which is a process that works for me fine because all of the ideas for the videos are in my head, I know exactly what I want. But trying to translate that over with someone who doesn't have even any commentary to work with wouldn't really be too convenient for them. So I think unless I want to completely overhaul how I make my videos, which I know the way I make my videos is very weird, but it works for me. At the minute, it's just something I kind of prefer to do myself. And the same also applies to the thumbnails, but the thumbnails are slightly more collaborative. As usually for a video, I'll design a couple of thumbnails and then not really be sure which one I want to pick. So rather than just randomly guessing, I'll usually just ask my Twitter or DM one of my friends and say, hey, which of these thumbnails do you think is better? So in that way, actually deciding on a final design is kind of collaborative sometimes. But the actual design process itself is just me. Our next question asks, if you had the chance to rewrite one episode of Ninjago, which would you pick? And for me, the episode I would rewrite would be Crystallized Episode 12, The Council of the Crystal King. And the only real change I'd make is that I would put literally anyone under that Kabuki mask but Harumi. As in my opinion, this was an actual jumping the shark moment. Our next set of questions comes in from PJK Lochner 5683. Who first mentions that the other month they submitted questions for a Q&A that I never ended up making, and yeah, I am pretty bad for doing that. I'll occasionally ask for questions for new Q&As and then just don't get around to making them, which is a pretty bad habit of mine. Their first question is, which is your favourite Ninjago storyline involving a resistance and a tyrannical regime? And for me, it's gotta be Hunted. I really like what they did with this concept in Dragon's Rising Season 1, but I think Hunted is the best execution of this idea. And as for the second question, I once heard of an anime that made a sitcom-like parody of the show after its finale. Would you like to see Ninjago do the same? I think this would be fun to see as like short episodes on YouTube or something, you know, something like the Legacy Reimagined shorts. But I'm not sure this would work with full-length episodes. As a limited series of shorts though, I think they could get a lot of mileage out of this idea. Our final question for today comes in from Gregor KH1GL, who asks, do you believe that we will ever get the pre-merge world again? There are a lot of mysteries after the merge. And I really hope Ninjago doesn't make the choice to reverse the merge, as it's one of the most interesting world-building decisions in franchise history that has allowed them to effectively relay the groundwork for Ninjago's world-building and add a bunch of cool new stuff onto it. That being said though, I would love to keep seeing the pre-merge world through expanded media such as books and video games, and also in Dragon's Rising itself through flashbacks. I just don't think I ever want to see the merge itself reversed in present-day Ninjago, because the merged realms are such a great setting that still have limitless creative potential in their hands. And with that question answered, I think we're going to end this video out here before it gets too long. I'd like to thank everyone again for joining my ultimate quest for world domination by subscribing to the channel. 20,000 people who all hit a button saying they want to watch more of my stuff is still absolutely unfathomable to me, and I really could not be any more grateful for that. As always, a massive thank you to my channel members for supporting the channel financially. A big list of channel member names are up on screen now. I couldn't be any more grateful for this as well. And a massive thank you to everyone for watching this video all the way through, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.